Hey, everybody. Welcome to the National Center for Fathering's Facebook Live. I am delighted tonight because you're going to get both an earful and some insights that will change your life. Uh, as president and founder of the National Center for Fathering, I am privileged to present to you Dr. Michelle Watson Canfield. There's a story behind every story, but suffice it to say, over the past 8 to 9 years, we've worked closely together. And that topic that we've really pressed into is the dad-daughter bond.
Yeah.
It's so important.
Mm-hmm.
And tonight we're going to unpack something that's going to reveal the backstory.
Yeah.
Because this relates personally to me. And it's part of the research that Dr. Watson did a few years ago, which actually culminates in a book called Let's Talk. And I believe Let's Talk is like a vaccine. It's a vaccine to prevent disaster and problems. So we're going to get into this,
Yep,
and
we
I've
are.
decided that I'm just going to open things up.
Yeah, you told him I would be here this
Yeah.
week, so we're back in the same state here in Oregon, and we're excited to partner together. This is kind of a new venture this way as a married couple, so
It is.
it's fun to be here.
And it's going super, super well. So here's the topic we're going to talk about tonight.
Mhm.
This is based on both the research in her study and the book Let's Talk. And she summarized what dads need to think about with 5 L's. And those L's are right here. She printed this out. It's beautiful. So you ready for our first graphic?
Oh, you know what? I think it's going to be backwards. I forgot about that. Okay.
Oh.
Okay.
She's going to read them to you.
Yeah, I forgot about that. You guys, this whole technology thing
Yes.
with Facebook Live, we're just getting used to it. So can you kind of flip it in your head? But these are the 5 L's.
Yes.
Okay.
So read them, and we'll talk about the one tonight. Go
Okay,
ahead.
so in Let's Talk, what I've done, I've been coaching dads of daughters for a decade now, and it's such a joy to walk alongside dads, right? You've known, he wrote the foreword to my book 6 years ago, my first book, and now I just wrote a second one to dads of daughters. You wrote the foreword to the first one, and you've known that I've had such a heart for seeing dads' hearts, not just their heads, turn toward their daughters. And that's why in this book, I'm equipping you as dads to lead your daughter to laugh, lead her to love herself and others, lead her to look inside at things going on under the surface, perhaps that aren't always either allowed to come out or allowed, she's maybe not allowed or hasn't connected with those things inside of herself. And then lead her to lament. That's the 4th section. And the last one is lead her to listen, which is all about flipping the script so that a daughter can ask you as a dad questions about your life.
So what we're going to talk about tonight, and this gets into our story as well,
Mm-hmm.
it's a tough one, guys. And I want to say personally, it's gripped my heart.
Mm-hmm.
And it's lead your daughter to lament. Now you may say, we are already lamenting.
Yeah.
The culture right now is somewhat perilous. And particularly
It's
if
true.
you're a dad that doesn't have regular access to his daughter. And so I recognize this lamenting has just a bunch of different feelings behind it. But, you know, when you think about lament, how would you describe it? And what's it look like as you
Yeah.
thought?
Well, it really is an old-fashioned word, isn't it? And so I just had to keep all the L's in there, hence the word lament. But really, lamenting is about a grieving or a connection to loss that we've experienced. And I think sometimes what I've seen with dads is that their own unhealed wounds get triggered when their daughters are big emotional, responders. And oftentimes I've said the thing you think is the thing isn't the thing. So sometimes on a 0 to 10 scale, when a daughter has like an 8, 9, or 10 reaction and she's grieving or having a big reaction to something, sometimes dads are trying to just quiet her down or have her, shut down or just get grounded again. Maybe you say you're making a mountain out of a molehill, which then for us as girls makes the mountain bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And so really my heart is to equip you as dads to know, how do you actually get her talking about what's going on deep inside so that the things that she's sad about, that she's feeling sorrow over, the losses, the things she grieves, that you can connect with her on those things as she really gives expression to that.
Now, that really speaks to me right off the top, because what we're talking about, in order to be a lamenting father, it doesn't mean you
Mm-hmm.
have to put on dark colors or, go into a dirge. It does mean, and for me, you have to get in tune with your
Mm-hmm.
emotional side.
Yeah.
And that's really hard. Men are told to suck it up,
Yeah.
run, do the deal, get the work done, bring home the bacon,
Yeah.
discipline the kids. But when you're talking about the tenderness of a
Yeah.
woman and a
Mm-hmm.
daughter, if you learn to lament,
Yeah.
as I'm learning right now,
Mm-hmm.
you will get in touch with that emotional side.
Well, you know what else is? This is my counseling office right here. I've been a therapist, mental health therapist for 25 years, and so many tears can have been shed right here in this office. And so often, women and girls that I've counseled, tears coming down their faces, wanting you as their dads to be proud of them and not be disappointed in them. And when we know we're too much for our dads, I know that's something that I have had inside my head of being
Mm-hmm.
too much for my dad. I'm emotional, I'm verbal, and I'm not too much for this one. So that's why I love that Ken can coach you as dads to say, how do you actually slow down and pace with your daughter, right? Or your
Right.
daughters, and
Absolutely.
not be trying to shut down their tears, because really that's where we're alive most often as women are, and you as men as well. But in those places where we have tears, that shows that it's a connection to our heart. That's where we're alive. So if you as a dad can have a framework, first of all, to say, okay, maybe tears aren't bad, emotion isn't bad, I don't need to shut that down. I want to draw her out because that's where she's most alive.
And when you think about this, there are some things that you and I are responsible for that
Mm,
can cause a daughter to lament. And there are some things that just the culture or life happens that
yeah,
you can't control. So getting in tune, lamenting with
yeah.
your heart, and getting in sync. Research has been done
Mm-hmm.
on what happens if, let's say, a child between a couple dies
Mm-hmm.
prematurely. What happens is father and a mother grieve out of sync. And when they can grieve in sync and really attune to each other and respect each other, it is powerful. They plow through the huge issue of the loss of a child. In the same way,
Yeah.
no dad wants to leave or miss his daughter. So it causes us to get in sync. So I don't know all the issues we're going to talk about, but I'm going to open it up and really go deep. Okay, what I have lamented and
That's
what,
what I was just going to ask you
oh,
is
yes.
Ken is coming into this topic. He chose this one out of the book. He said, I want to start here because it ties to his personal story. And you just told me, what, 2, 3 weeks ago, that you think this is probably the most powerful section in the book.
I do, because
Why?
it,
Why do you
it
say
speaks
that?
to me personally.
Mm-hmm.
And I just see so many father wounds, having written for years on the father wounds and
Yeah.
how to bring healing. It takes a dad who takes the initiative and say, have I
Mm-hmm.
hurt you? Have I
Yeah.
done something that has caused you grief? And is there any amends that I need to make?
Yeah.
And so I know that. But this is something I'm going to share that caught me by surprise. And that is the death of my wife of
Mm-hmm.
43 years. Now, I want you to know, Michelle knew Dee.
Yeah.
Dee was the
Loved her.
sweetest,
Yes.
oh,
Yeah.
kindest person. Michelle had been in our home
Mm-hmm.
as the decline, came, and we were expecting Dee to just motor on and have more years,
Yeah.
but she suddenly died. So what
Having a
that did?
long-term illness. You
Oh,
cared for her for years. And I just want to highlight that. You're a
okay.
man who walks your talk.
Okay. Well, at any rate, this is what happened. I was dealing with my own grief, guys.
Mm.
Dee and I were married 43 years, 2 months, and 5 days. And then it's gone. And she's in a better place. It was an incredible time of healing at the memorial service and the
Mm-hmm.
internment. But
Mm-hmm.
I was grieving so much, and I have 3 daughters, and I thought, oh my goodness, they are
Mm-hmm.
grieving too. And it was hard for me because I was dealing with my own stuff
Yeah.
to reach out to them. And what I learned was this: if I failed to reach out to my daughters and really get in sync with them, not only would that impact this relationship, but it would impact our relationship long term. So that's when I grabbed and I said, Michelle, I think that the power is right here. In her book, Let's Talk, she's got a section on lamenting, and we're going to go through some of the sections that deal with that. And she's got this question in here about loss. What are some of the toughest things about your relationship where you've had to grieve together? And what do you miss about the one that you're grieving about? So, guess what? I had to get real. I would think, oh, I could have done this better. I had regrets myself, even though death would take us all. And it wasn't until I could enter in and listen and comfort and hear my daughters talk about their grief that we could, overcome some of the pain and the loss that goes on. Because you just don't get through grief. It's not a
one and done.
Yeah. Okay, for guys,
it's a process.
For guys, it's a problem. We got to fix this and get on. I don't like this because it's painful.
And then we feel like we're a problem to solve as women when we can feel that our dad is done. His attention span, his capacity for that emotion.
Yes.
We call that window of tolerance in our field of psychology, and yet it can grow. That's the amazing thing. And I think a lot of times daughters are helping their dad's emotional capacity expand if they have a mindset as fathers to say, I want to walk this out. And one thing else I want to say, Ken, is that all three of your daughters have grieved very differently.
Right.
The death of their mother.
Yes.
And so you've had to course correct or adjust the way you've talked, the pacing of where they're at in the grief cycle. And so that's an important thing to know too, Dad, is if you have two daughters that are, let's say, grieving divorce differently and you want them to be the same, it's just think, okay, I've got to pace differently with each one's timing, personality, age, stage of development. Those are all going to be different and require you to pace with them differently.
Absolutely. And so it means we have to attend and pay attention in ways we haven't. So this is my hope and prayer for you. I don't know what issues you're facing, but we're coming alongside you.
Yeah, we are.
We're going to go through what's right here. And I want Michelle now to just read through some of the topics that relate to lamenting, and let's talk about them just briefly. So what are those topics?
Well, as you know, we as women are oftentimes a bit more verbose, right, than you men.
Absolutely.
And I wrote double the book that you will have in your hands if you get this. So these are the question topics that made the final cut, because in this book, I have 60 questionnaires to equip dads to lead. And that's my goal, dads, is to stand in your corner and champion you. And because I've heard so many dads say, I don't always know what to say to get it right, I say, I'm going to give you question starters. And then if your daughter doesn't like it, you just blame me. I'm your fall guy. And so these are the topics, dads, that you can choose from if you have maybe even a breach in your relationship with your daughter. But the first one is questions on making amends for hurtful words you've spoken to her.
Oh, that happens. I mean, errant words come out as you respond. So unpack that a little bit.
Okay, well, if you're a dad listening right now, you may say, okay, that one is me. I have said some hurtful words and I don't know how to make amends. Let me just give you a couple practical question starters, conversation starters, where you can ask her questions like, what words have I spoken to you that have stuck with you, that have made you feel better about yourself? So see, we're starting with the positive. But then you follow that up with, what hurtful words have I spoken to you that have made you feel worse about yourself? Or what negative words have I spoken to you that have made you feel worse about yourself? Because they've stuck with you. There's the thing. Hurtful words stick. I often say, Ken, that the one who speaks the words, the hurtful words, forgets them. The one who's been hurt remembers them longer. So if you spoke words 5 years ago to your daughter and you open up a conversation that says, what hurtful words have have stuck with you, that I've spoken to you, that have stayed with you, she will remember them like they were yesterday. She'll probably even remember what outfit she was wearing and where she was at. Why not clean that out now so that you raise a healthier daughter that doesn't become a woman, a wife, a young adult who's remembering words from way long ago? You can clean it out now.
Well, in helping other dads and listening to them as they navigate the father-daughter relationship, if those words aren't attended to, bitterness can result.
You're right.
And no one wants brokenness in a relationship.
Yeah.
So you taking the initiative and me taking the initiative to make sure hurtful words or hurtful actions or hurtful about anything has been discussed and really given your daughter the forum and the platform.
Yeah.
So just, don't let the defensiveness or the walls
You're
come
right.
up.
That's
Don't
key.
stonewall.
Yep. That's
You
key.
open up and it's going to be healing for both of you. And I just want to say this, dads, I know others have said hurtful words or done hurtful things to you. This is where you need to rise above that. And I know you can do it, and it can be done, because the salient predictor of a father-daughter relationship is this: your commitment. Doesn't make any difference where you came from. If you had a bad dad, he was an alcoholic, he left your mom, a whole bunch of tragedy. If you have the commitment, you can be an overcomer dad. Now, that's just one of the topics, hurtful words or the loss of someone close. Share with them some of the others, because this is,
I know we're
really
short on
important.
time, so I'll just give you a quick overview. I have them written down so I can make sure to get them all in here. So there's questions on her father wounds from you, or even questions on voids from you, places where you've missed being the dad you need to be. And again, Dad, this takes a lot of courage to ask these questions, but that's why I want to equip you with a script in front of you to be able to ask the questions as they're written out.
And let me just say, this whole thing of time and, the workaholism that often infects our culture can lead us, down a path where we have a void, and it may be for 2 or 3 years, and we just don't know. I think of Rick Wirtz, who was an engineer. His story is powerful. He was working overseas in the North Sea, looking at oil and coming back to Houston, and he looked out the window and he says to his wife, "Who's that out there playing with Tom?" And his wife looked at him and said, "That's your daughter, Amanda." So here's this gap, and it was a game changer for Rick. He said, "Okay, I'm changing. I'm coming home." And that commitment made all the difference.
And how did he not know that that was his daughter?
Because he didn't recognize her.
There had been so many years where they hadn't seen each other.
And busyness.
And busyness, wow.
And all of that.
Yeah, which is real life.
Yes.
But Ken and I are saying, dads, your daughter has you. Your biological dad, even if there's a stepdad or an adopted dad or a father figure
you
or
are
an uncle.
The best asset.
Yeah, the
That's
best asset.
Right on. Okay, what are some of those?
Some of the other topics are about even just being a distracted dad, a divorced dad.
Oh.
And that's a real one that I think of how often in divorce. These are a lot of the women in my counseling office who are broken over what happens in divorce. And many dads that I've worked with in the groups that I lead for dads say, I can't now make headway at all because my ex-wife is, putting me down behind closed doors, and now my daughter doesn't want to be with me. But remember, there are seasons. If you stay the course, stay positive, there will be a time, I really believe, where your daughter will turn back to you. Maybe there's estrangement. That's another section in here. There's a lot of estrangement, right, that we deal with and hear stories of.
One of them I particularly like, because my son-in-law is an adoption attorney. It is, lamenting if you're adopted.
Yeah.
Now, why would anybody lament that? Well, that's just part of this homing beacon, wondering how did I get here and so forth. So what's so good about this? These conversation starters are not only scripts for you, but also there are questions for your daughter to respond to.
Right. And I have a sister who's adopted 2 sons, and one of them says, I don't care about knowing my birth parents. The other one grieves. Why was I given up? Why was I rejected? And so actually, my sister's husband, one of the boys, my brother-in-law said, I'm going to get this book to go through the questions with my son who's been adopted. And so really this is a resource and a tool for you as a dad,
a compendium.
even with your sons. And I know we're running out of time,
Well,
but that just gives you a bit of an overview of the topics.
Yeah, and we've got a few more minutes, and I just want to conclude by saying this. This compendium, there are 10 scripts for the lamenting. And if we get in tune emotionally there, which I am committed to,
Yeah.
and as a grandfather of 9 granddaughters, I'm going to do even a better job. I mean, and I know it's different, but let me just say this. You investing and taking the initiative and say, I want to be a dad that is touched by the heart to touch my daughter's heart and turn from all the stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, all the distractions, all the busyness, and make sure there's some time or plan in your schedule to lament and listen and grieve and probe and see if there's anything there. That's going to be healing. It's going to be like oil. It's going to be like something that will bring change.
And remember, Dad, you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be present. And that's what these conversation starters are about, is helping you show up and have the words in front of you to get her talking. Because when her mouth opens, her heart opens. And when her heart is open, your heart opens.
Oh, well said. No brainer. Well said. Okay, so this is it. For friends of dads, that's you moms and grandmas, because I know who really can get this thing out. Let's Talk is a compendium of resources that'll make your father or father figure the best they can be. So we're committed over the next 5 weeks. We're going to go through each L. And we started there. And I just want to thank Michelle for just doing the work over the past 10 years of research and bringing this to the forefront, because they are going to make a difference.
Yes, dads, you make all the difference in helping your daughter's self-esteem grow, her confidence grow. She's going to set greater goals, all with you in her corner. And the research confirms when a daughter feels a connection to her dad, every part of her life is better. So that's what we're all about, is equipping dads to lead, because your daughters need you.
So here at the National Center for Fathering, let it be known, we're here for dads and daughters. And this night, we're dedicating to that. So next week at this time, look for us. We've got another L. You can get, and just click right there, the book to follow along. And if you want to send us any questions, we'll ponder and respond to those in our next broadcast.
Right, so we can keep this interaction, this conversation going. We love you, we're committed to you, and we're here for you.
Yahoo!
Woohoo!
All right.
Bye, you guys. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye.